Viewers, by now you've all seen the visuals that are on your screens from the last week. And these visuals represent a problem. You know the problem. The problem isn't that the Khalistani insurgency has reached a position where the Indian state can't deal with it. The problem is that there is no will, no political will to be specific to deal with it. Indeed, viewers, Pakistan-backed Khalistan movement has now reached that point of critical mass where it could, if left unchecked, plunge Punjab back into the cauldron of militancy that it was drowning in during the 80s and early 90s. A return to the insurgency, let me tell you, viewers, will create massive disruption in the country. It will lead to the diversion of resources that right now will serve us on the glide path to world power status. We have all emerged stronger from COVID. All of us, all Indians, viewers. And there's now nothing in our way to hold us back except for the problems we create on our own for ourselves. Now we are staring at a problem. The trouble is that despite the warning signs, no one seems to be committed to tackle the menace on a war footing. There are three questions. Has the problem reached a stage where we need to be worried? Is there any solution other than using force to peg back the rise of Khalistani separatism? And what are the state and centre's options? Now tonight, viewers, we're going to discuss this entire subject, as we always do on Converse, with some of those who are most well informed. And I first want to begin with Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of the ORF, Mahroof Raza, Group Consulting Editor of Times Network. Sushant Sareen, first of all, why are we having this problem? It's a fundamental question. Why?
Rahul, because you took your eye off the ball. And till the time you kept your eye on the ball, you ensured that this thing would never take off. But then over a period of years, we became complacent and we were not able to connect the dots. So for example, yes, there was a drug menace forget a menace, it's an epidemic. There's a drug epidemic in Punjab. An entire generation, maybe two, have been wiped out. There was gang warfare happening. Gangsters were openly airing their parties inside jails. Everybody was sleeping over it. Everybody was laughing about, right? We got the telltale signs from Pakistan that the Pakistanis were very active, and one metric of that was how quickly the Khalistani element in places like Canada, in UK, in Australia, in the US became active, in Germany also. They had become active. Now, all of this, we also saw tensions inside Punjab. For example, people keep talking about the Beadbi part, but I would even go a little back when, the whole Dera Sacha Sauda fracas started many years back. That was the time that should have been a wake-up call on what was underway. We should have started looking for the troublemakers, but there was a blasé kind of an attitude that, okay, fine, there are a few hotheads, they are running here and there. The SGPC had started becoming active on this. The kind of positions the SGPC was taking, we should have woken up to that fact. The kind of manufactured narratives that were coming out, we should have been alive to that. The fact that, and just yesterday, I think somebody was telling me, Bhindra wale posters being put in Gurdwaras, that should have woken us up. Because there was always that germ who had got rid of the infection, but the germ was always there. And we did nothing to eliminate the germ. It's like polio. you have to keep fighting it until you make sure that it's eliminated. So as long as the virus is present somewhere, it will re-emerge. That same thing has happened in Punjab, and everybody thought it was somebody else's problem. The police forces actually simply, got involved in many of the other activity, uh, including extortion, including taking money for everything. There was very little law and order in Punjab. Drugs were openly circulated. Every government promised that they will act on it. Not a single government has acted on it. Not even the Aam Aadmi Party government. They came in with so many promises. They've done damn all. The Akalis didn't do anything. The Congress didn't do anything. And then all the political parties continued to agitate on emotional issues. So you are now, in a situation where virtually it's deja vu, because everything which had happened in the 70s and 80s leading up to the terrorism, Punjab, is happening now, albeit in a different form. So fine, sit back, enjoy it.
Okay, now that of course you can't get more brutally honest than that. But let me try to bring in Maruf Raza. Sushant Sareen said the germ was always there. We've taken our eye off the ball, and now we just have to sit back and enjoy it. That's what he said. Brutally honest. I want to ask you, germs do well in enabling environments, in enabling circumstances. So what's enabling this? Is it ideological, or is this easy money coming from Pakistan, a few unemployed people getting together and saying, look, this is the latest cottage industry, let's go back on it, let's hop back on it? What's going on?
Rahul, there are multiple issues that I want to just bring across for the sake of keeping the debate very focused, which we need to get a grip on. The first thing is that, the Indian state only wakes up to a problem when the problem hits them straight on the face. Until then, the Indian state lets things float along in the assumption that it will die its own death. Now, if you look back at what is happening now and look back to the 80s, it seems like a deja vu in Punjab of the 1980s. Sushant brought out there was drug money, there was easy money, there was interference from Pakistan, there was a kind of ostrich-like attitude of the political dispensation. There was also law and order not being addressed in the true sense, and the law and order agencies were addressing their own personal concerns, whether extortion or whatever. When the Blue Star operation was launched in June 1984, and I've done a serious study of that years ago, the fact of the matter is that people only woke up when DIG Atwal was shot dead on the steps of the Golden Temple. Then suddenly said, oh my God, this is a serious problem. Now, whether the intelligence agencies had been warning the Home Ministry and whether the Home Ministry was oblivious to the warnings because there were other issues, please remember that there were allegations also pointed to the leadership of the Khalistan movement then engaging with the Honorable then President of India, Gyani Zail Singh. And this has been narrated in detail in Mark Tully and Satish Jacobs' book, Amritsar, Mrs. Gandhi's Last Battle. Then there were issues about Pakistan using Punjab as a distraction to launch their operation in Kashmir, which we have seen from 88, 89 onwards. So, keep India distracted there when Pakistan could unleash their entire agenda in Kashmir. Even now, there has been an effort on the part of Pakistan, when their wings are clipped on Kashmir, they go back to Punjab, because if Punjab is unsettled and India would be running around in circles trying to address that, they have a free hand now to restart the insurgency in Kashmir, which many have called a lost rebellion. Now, if you look back at the events recently, ever since the Kartarpur corridor opening, there were concerns that were expressed by people in the media and people who in the know that Pakistan had the Khalistani supporters and leaders attending that function. Some were probably even using that corridor to slip across into India and create mayhem. Second thing is, there has been mention in all sorts of conversations of Pakistanis to say, Kashmir to theek hai sahab, lekin hum Punjab ki tayari kar rahe hain वापस. And we saw this in the form of a few bomb blasts in some cities, Gurdaspur being a case in point.
Yes.
We saw there was the drone drops of arms, drone drops of drugs. You see, it is not a coincidence, Rahul, that India's insurgencies has more often than not happened in our border areas, because our neighbors use that border space to ferment insurgencies and turmoil to keep the Indian state distracted from the process of growth, because that is the long-term agenda. Why was 2611 enacted in Mumbai? It was enacted because Mumbai was accessible by sea. Why was 2611 done? Because they wanted to put paid to the Indian success economic story. They don't invest in India. It's a not safe place. And now again, Punjab, the moment, you see, I personally believe, and I've done 2 books on insurgencies and terrorism, so this is a little bit of academic understanding, that wherever there are turmoil-ridden states, you cannot let the state government have complete autonomy to run their business, because more often than not, the politicians are arm-twisted or susceptible or threatened to the agenda of these anti-national elements. So the state, that means the state New Delhi, the Home Ministry, must have a grip on things like Sushant brought out. You have to keep watching the ball, even if you're winning the match.
Okay.
It's a simple rule of field hockey or football. So basically, you cannot let go of the things. Now, there were 5 known people who were terrorists and supporters of this, who were attending the Kartarpur Sahib corridor opening function. There is evidence for years, the money coming in from their sympathizers in the West. What is the assumption? The assumption is the 1973 Anandpur Sahib resolution, which is basically calls for an independent Khalistan. You know, that they should have, free, no communication control from Delhi, no currency control from Delhi, foreign relations should be theirs. You know, a kind of a hyper 370, which is what these people have been wanting.
Okay.
And there is an assumption that Punjab is the granary of India, so Punjab can sustain itself.
So,
the world cannot absorb all that, already that is there.
So
and I think we must wake up to it,
okay,
and kick butt if required.
Okay, that will come to. So just very quickly, Maruf, in just 10 seconds, if you could respond, because Sushant Sareen is also raising his hand, and I want to bring in the others also.
Yes, please.
Is there an ideological undercurrent here, or is it just purely being pushed by Pakistan?
No, both.
Both.
I mean, remember one thing, as a rule, no insurgency can survive without an ideological aim.
Okay.
The external factors always help it.
Okay, it's interesting, Sushant Sareen, that we're using the word already, insurgency. That means that we have now reached a point where we need to be worried.
Oh yeah, Rahul, that's imminent. I think that's the next stage, because if the past is any guide, this is exactly the way things developed in the past, and then it translated into terrorism. Just one small point I'll make. Tell you how careful you have to be in border states, as Maruf is mentioning. I'm talking about 2003, 2004. During a visit to Pakistan, I was talking to a person who was very friendly to me. I couldn't call him a friend. A Pakistani editor of one of the top newspapers. And during the course of the conversation, he just asked me, very innocuously, so what's happening in East Punjab? I said, what do you mean? He says, no, one is not hearing anything about East Punjab these days. I said, well, there is no problem in East Punjab. It's been cleaned up. It's been, it's sanitized completely. He says, yeah, that's what I am hearing, because, when I talk to my friends in the Pakistan army, they are saying that they're trying to agitate this issue, but they're not finding any traction. And, so they continued, they kept on and on and on and on. And suddenly, 10, 12 years later, you saw the first stirrings of this, resurgence of this movement. When the first posters started coming out, all sorts of other things started happening. And this is where you are at today.
Okay, so look, we'll now open this up. General Kamal Dawar is also there with us, founder of the Chief Defence Intelligence Agency and former Corps Commander of Punjab. Also with us, Prakash Singh, former DG BSF. General Dawar, the question is straightforward tonight, and we need to answer it with as much directness as possible. Taken the eye off the ball is what Maroof and Sushant Sareen say. Is this a state level failure or is this a failure at the center?
Okay, first of all, thank you for getting me on your channel to share my thoughts. I totally agree with your opening comments and the eminent panelists Sushant and Maroof, my old friends. Whatever they have said, they have covered it comprehensively, and I would not like to repeat anything what they have said. I totally agree with their views. Now, coming to your specific question, we all know the past history where General Zia-ul-Haq, the infamous dictator president of Pakistan, had commenced the K2 movement. And let's also admit that even at that time in the 80s, there was a modicum of success at both the places. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm quite clear that the ISI is a rekindling, is trying to revive with all the resources it can, mischief in Punjab, having failed a fair amount in Kashmir. In J&K, the situation has improved. We all know about it. So what does the ISI do? Having got a kick in their backside in Afghanistan, they would also like to have, they have an inborn animosity towards India. So they have been trying, and they've had their sleeper cells in Punjab. They've been pumping in money, and all the Khalistan movement, which has got internationalized, is not by innocent Sikh diaspora. It is the handiwork of the ISI. So the ISI is rekindling mischief as far as Punjab is concerned. But I would slightly disagree with what I think Maroof or Sushant said, or you said about insurgency. I don't think there's any insurgency in our great strategic state of Punjab. There is militancy, and there's a revival of militancy. Of course, the drug trade and the drug supplies and arms trade and some targeted bombings are going on. All of the handiwork of these so-called sleeper cells, the so-called Khalistani, extremist followers, sympathizers, and all inspired and given their missions by the ISI. So India has to be very, very careful. In any case, security is a 24/7 job. And as you asked, whether it is who's doing it and all, it is naturally a question of the ISI and their sympathizers of the Khalistani movement. There is a bit of an ideological thing, and that's where this threat always remains in a multicultural, multi-religious, multi-plural country. There are some elements who ideologically also don't, never get integrated with the mainstream. But overall, let me tell you, in Punjab, the Punjabis, the Sikhs are the finest among the communities we have in India. And we have to also ensure inter-societal harmony. The state also, the center also, and as far as the civil society is concerned.
Right.
So there is not a hell of a problem going on, but the problem is emerged and is emerging. And we must take an holistic approach, reach out and deal with it. The Aam Aadmi Party appears to be soft. Their vote bank appears to be, then that's why they ousted the Congress and the other part and the Akali Dal and all that. Totally, the election results were quite surprising.
Yeah.
But what not surprising is today that there has been a revival and rekindling of mischief. That's what I want to say. And we must address it and address it soon.
Okay. General Dawar, stay on with me. Prakash Singh, former DG BSF, is also here with us. Mr. Singh, what we have seen over the last few days, it appears that the state police looks incapacitated. Now, it could be political, they could be under instructions, I don't know, I can't get into all of that, but certainly they looked inadequately prepared to deal with this. And some of my colleagues in the newsroom suggested that, look, when you're confronted with a mob of so many hundreds, it becomes very difficult even for the police to respond. Now, is that really the case? Does the police not have the capacity in the state of Punjab to deal with this? Or do we need to augment our forces if it is true?
Rahul, I would answer your question, but before coming to the exact question which you have framed, I think we need to be clear about certain basics. Firstly, what is it? What is the nature of the problem that we are witnessing or going to witness, or which is staring us in the face in Punjab? It is not insurgency; it is terrorism. And let me also make it clear that I served in Punjab from 1987 to 91.
True.
Those were terrible years, and I have first-hand experience of terrorism. So, and while terrorism was vanquished in the Punjab, it was not crushed, it was not erased, it was not wiped out. The embers remained, and those embers Pakistan has been trying to fan ever since. Having said that, there is another point on which I would like to strike a different note. It is not so much Pakistan ISI's role today. It is more our ineptitude, our sense of complacency, our not connecting the dots, as someone said, and it's just bad governance. It's bad governance, poor policing, and ignoring the threats which are there and which are visible. I mean, we have been. Punjab has been faced with multiple problems. I mean, say one, drug problems, that has been mentioned. Secondly, gang warfare. This is another major problem. Thirdly, you see, the farmers' agitation also hit Punjab farmers in a big way, and they were quite unhappy with the way Centre handled it. So all these factors were already there, and as I said, the threat has been there. It is just that, I mean, we have been hearing about this radical leader Amritpal Singh for quite some time, but we have allowed him to do whatever he has been doing. You talked about the capacity of the Punjab police. Look, I have no doubt about the capacity of the Punjab police to handle this problem. I have no doubt about the capacity of Haryana police also. I conducted an inquiry into the Haryana reservation agitation, and one of the observations I made was that this police, it has the potential to take on the Taliban. But the point is, are you prepared to give it the kind of training, the kind of leadership, the kind of latitude which any police forces require? I mean, I saw Punjab police in action from 87 to 91, and Punjab police they went hammer and tongs, thanks to the leadership provided by Mr. Gill and earlier Mr. Ribeiro. They went hammer and tongs, and Mr. Ribeiro used to say that it's amazing, Prakash. I mean, I see there is an incident, there is a terror incident in the market, and within 15 days, within 15 minutes, the whole thing is back to normal. So Punjab police was there, and it's a first-class police force, and they played the lead role. I mean, I was leading the BSF, but I have no hesitation in saying that it is Punjab police which played the real lead role. The CRPF, the Border Security Force, and even the Indian Army, we played a supporting role. We provided the necessary support to the Punjab police, and they wiped out, they almost vanquished the terrorist movement. And they're capable of doing it again, provided you give them good leadership,
That's
you
the
give
point.
them the proper direction, you say that yes, this is what is to be done, and
it has
quite
come
possible.
down.
I mean, whatever I have been seeing for the last few days,
Yeah.
I see an abdication of responsibility by the police.
Pay attention to what
Again, it is
Prakash
echo.
Singh is
Can you-
saying. Abdication of responsibility by the police because perhaps it is not being given the latitude to deal with the problem. It's coming back to politics. And I think Prakash Singh has put his finger on the pulse here. I think all of us have agreed on this one point, that we've been caught either complacent or there's a compulsion. And if it is politics, viewers, then your leadership, whether it's sitting at the center or at the state level, is doing a massive disservice to this country. And if it doesn't have the wherewithal at this moment to react, because it feels that it is going to use someone like Amritpal Singh as his self-proclaimed ideological mentor, Bhindranwale was used then viewers, we know where we are going. All of us, each one of us needs to start asking the center and the state what they're up to. What are they waiting for? What compulsion can be greater than the compulsion of seeing India succeed? Think about that. We're talking about Amrit Kal. And if you want a tryst with Amrit Kal in 20 years, then viewers, the political class needs to pull its socks up and forget about its own interests. That's the message. It's a clear one. And it's going out from Times Now and this panel of eminent individuals. I leave it at this, viewers. Thank you for watching.